Hey, what's up? It's your boy BobbySapphire, and tonight we have special guests. We're talking to the BIATL team champions from the 3v3 tournament this past weekend. I've got Justin with me from the KTOD podcast, and
The
I've got
champs
the
are here.
champs.
The champs are here.
And
Let's
we,
go. The hype is real watching these guys win it this past weekend.
it was
Let's
crazy. If you weren't
go.
watching, let me introduce my teammates here. We got Alex above me. Below Justin is John Tatta, and at the bottom there is Wooooo Ophir. What is up? How are you
What
guys
is
feeling? Must be feeling great. Are you still amped?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still amped. I mean, we're still talking about it every day. People still asking questions.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Alex,
Yeah.
you must have been pacing around the room, right? Like you kept jumping on Discord to talk to us, and I could hear you pacing.
Yeah, a lot of pacing. I had a lot of energy afterwards, so that was kind of cool.
Had a lot of energy during too.
Yep.
Yeah, he
I
carries
think
the energy.
I think Tower number 9 on the stream said the Energizer described me as the Energizer Bunny of SWU. I think those were his exact words.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you guys
That's
had to
pretty
do
good.
that too because it was a long day, and we'll get into like the actual pathway that you guys had. But like the mental strain of these tournaments. You don't know like the long 9 rounds, whatever, like day one, day two. But this was a different animal with like team event bracket, like different pathways. Get to the champion. We'll talk about how you had to win the finals twice with like the round robin type type of day, and then you had sort of that feature match on the Saturday night too, which was really cool. Of like, okay, main event almost felt like a boxing match, where like everyone was kind of like getting ready for the final. So yeah, definitely needed to like. Well, I don't know if Alex needs to like drink Red Bull, but like you guys needed your caffeine for
No,
sure.
do you ever? You do ever?
I
You
don't.
don't drink caffeine, right? We've talked
None
about
at all.
this. Yeah,
Zero. No coffee, no Red Bull, no nothing. I don't take stimulants or anything to get me going. I just wake up and I'm ready.
it's all natural,
Just protein,
baby.
all protein shakes.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
before, oh, go ahead,
it,
John.
it wasn't like exactly like that. Like pretty much the whole morning, like Woo and Alex were complaining for hours about how early this thing started, and like it started at 8 a.m. for round one, and we didn't stop playing until, I mean, what was it, 6?
Yeah.
Like no food, no breaks. Like it's
Yeah, it
crazy.
was a marathon. That was I couldn't believe how many rounds that they had you play. Like it seemed absolutely
Yeah,
insane
it
to
was like
play.
And it
10.
was going rapid fire too. Like there was just
Yeah,
constant rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, not being able to eat and stuff must have been really brutal. All right, but let's shout out. Let's do a couple shout outs before we talk about the tournament and stuff. First, oh, I didn't get rid of these name tags. I had to make the name tags for YouTube. Look at that behind the scenes, guys. Got to shout out Blonde Sabine. The Blonde Sabine YouTube channel, they streamed this event. And also shout out to McClunky Gaming, who co-streamed and did some of the casting. This event was held at Cards HQ in Atlanta, and it was a 10K weekend total. There was the 3v3 tournament. We saw our boys with the check for $1,050. And then there was a 6K and a 2K. So I guess if you tally them all up with, I don't know, there must have been a 3K for the whole team tournament, right? It all came to 10K.
yeah. It was
It was two, 6,
6,000
and
for the
2.
main event. Yeah,
2, 6,
6,
2.
2, and 2. Yeah.
Right. That makes mathematical sense. I can add.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of shout outs though. Like Courtney with Blonde Simoon, they are going to be uploading more videos from the event. Frank obviously putting it on Bothan Network and everything. Cards HQ, also Metal Fab. We'll talk about them more, but like sponsoring the team and like the team crushing. That's kind of the vision of how this all works and like what they. One of the things that we had the interview of the three guys and we did a great job shouting out all the benefits of the Metal Fab sponsorship. I wanted to include that here too.
Yeah, the interview was really great. You guys were, I mean, obviously riding high after the win, but you guys were just. Oh, and then you guys talked about it, but you interviewed beforehand too, right? You had an interview before the match on
Right
Saturday.
before they
Yeah, that was
interviewed the
great.
team captains.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
So
you
we
were on
talked
there,
about
John. You
that.
crushed it.
Yeah. So, Justin just mentioned, the VODs and stuff. Courtney did mention, of course, people who watched the VODs might have seen too, that it cut off right in the middle of the finals, game one. And the whole thing is being uploaded tomorrow, for
Oh,
instance.
awesome.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, we.
Yeah, it was
If
like a 10
anyone was
hour limit
wondering
or
why,
something.
YouTube has a 12-hour limit. You see that video went 11:55, and that's when YouTube says we're not saving your video anymore. You have to restart. So that's what happened there. So shout out to Balance of Bean. Check them out. Bothan Network did an awesome job running this event. Obviously, Frank, the mastermind behind this. They weren't even home yet, and he was like planning 2 more Bothan events in the Discord.
Yeah,
So
crazy. Yeah,
hyped for
Yeah,
that.
maybe even more team events, which would be super hype.
They
'cause
want
it
to
sounds
come
like
up.
Everyone who
They
went
want to come up
says
this
loved
way
it.
too, which would be huge.
We're going north. The North remembers. Let's do it. That'd be awesome.
Here's awesome. This picture's incredible. With the white jackets, just you guys playing in the finals here, with the crowd, all the Bothans in the background, and just the 2 KTOD mats look great. That other mat looks okay, but
yeah,
the
this
jackets
was
look
super
good.
cool. Like like you can see to the left there somewhat. They had like 3-tiered like stadium seating that was like always full so people can watch the feature matches. There's like 3 cameras, up above
That's
like
cool.
that. Like it was nuts.
That's a sick
That's like a
rig.
throwback to the versus Danger Room,
Yeah,
Tatta. You would remember
right,
that
exactly.
with like the life pads and everything. Like, but the focus level, it's like the lights pointing, or the cameras pointing down, the lights, like the wires. It's definitely sick, and you guys are like hyper focused. This is a dope one. Now, how did it work? Kind of jumping topics a little bit, but like, was Woo always in the middle? Like, how did that work?
No, we kind of varied. So the way it worked is that so you roll dice, and whoever won the die roll gets to seat the first player. So, for example, if we won the roll, then we choose a player to sit in seat A. So, say seat A is where I'm sitting now. So, it was usually me who went up first because Jango has like no bad matchups, and then the other team would seat all 3 of theirs, and then Alex and Woo would sit down across from whatever matchup was easier for them. So sometimes Alex was in the middle, sometimes Woo was, but it was always
And
like
you
that.
knew the matchup, like you knew who was what leader on the opposing
Yep.
team.
Yeah.
I see. So if you win the roll, got it.
And I was in the chat basically begging them to stream the draft because they hadn't been putting the leader drafts or the seating drafts on camera the whole day. And so we convinced them to do it for this. So it was exciting to watch you guys actually think it out and put you up there first. You rolled the dice, you put you up there first, and they took some time to deliberate. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, and this match was actually we had different we played them twice, and we had different matchups in both games. So they actually probably could have opted to have the same exact matchups. The first time we played them, I played Zach, who was on Cad Green, and then both Alex and John just played mirrors, a Han mirror and a Jango mirror. But since they lost that round, I believe maybe they wanted to try
Makes
a different
sense, yeah.
pairing. We talked about how maybe we thought they should have just kept it because they could have opted into the same matchups most likely, and Zach gets a free roll against me. I had 0. I think if I had played him 100 times, I might have won 3 games. Like one of those games where he doesn't have like a 2 and a 3 drop, like he just misses 2 turns, like variance games. But I felt like I had basically no chance beating a Cad Green with Cad Tarkentown. And I think they could have opted to have that matchup again.
Do you think if you put yourself up there first that they would have put that down?
They would have put Cad there 100%.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
But
and I talked to Phil after, and he said, like, he was honest. He said, listen, I didn't think that I could beat Alex in the mirror. So, I mean, and Phil is a great player. I mean,
Phil's great.
He won the 6K. And
Won the
that's
6K
how
with
much
Han, yeah.
He respects Alex's ability in the mirror. He's like, I don't want to play Alex. So that's why they did what they did.
Interesting.
I actually,
go ahead.
I didn't know for sure that's why I said that after. I didn't know you actually asked him, Tatta, but I just said it had to be that Phil didn't want to play the mirror. And I still think I would have rolled with it because I think he's confident enough that like he could have beat me in the mirror, but I think the last 2 times we played, I 2-0'd him both times, and he like maybe got a little in his own head more than he should have. But I think they should have ran back the same setup they did the first time. I think that gave them the best odds.
What do you think they would have done, Alex, if you had put Han in the first seat?
They would have sat Cad there.
And then, so what are the other matchups that fall?
The same ones.
You think so?
Same ones, right?
Because then I'd take Jango and Tatta takes Han. that's what we would have.
And that's what it ended up on. Okay, cool. We have another photo from the event. This is another good one at Cards HQ. Nice shot of the Metal Fab logos there. The side view, we get Tyler, Zach, and Phil from Kunkley Gaming over there. Table 1, you can see all the mats. I love shots like these. These are from Sim?
Sick.
This was great.
Yeah, that one's from Sim.
Yeah.
That one's from Sim.
This
Yeah.
is a horrifying side view of me. Who took this photo? Who approved this? What is happening? It looks like my eyes are sewed together. Like I'm like some villain
focused,
in a horror
man.
movie.
I think you're just blinking.
focused in.
I think you
You're
just
locked
caught mid-blink, but don't worry, no one's watching this.
Oh god.
Everyone,
this is like if for
everyone
people who watch Severance, Alex has like an innie and an outie. Like when he's playing, it's his innie, and when he's on the rest of the world, it's his outie, and it's like his face shrinks and morphs into a different version. Who is
This
that?
just makes me look fat.
No, you look
No,
great,
you look
man.
great. You look great. Here- and you looked great in the Czech picture. And you look great in this next picture too. And
Yeah,
here's
receiving the
another
award.
shot of the champions winning the award.
Tatta, we're gonna get you a medal.
Yeah,
For those of you
you'll
old
get
enough
this
to
is
know, you'll get one at the
disturbing.
MTV Movie Awards at some point. But yeah, congrats.
Woo's hair's looking good. Alex, you've got your trophy husband T-shirt on
Yes,
there.
the trophy husband shirt. Oh, this is too much.
I appreciate that you guys made me the main character, but I feel like it would only have been appropriate for me to be Han Solo. But I'll take the main character. That's fine.
Okay.
So like when I actually saw the original picture and sent it to edit, it was like kind of perfect for Woo. He actually like Harrison Ford actually really like was giving a Woo look, so I had to give it to Woo. And it would have been too much editing to take all of Mark Hamill's hair off to make Luke Tatta. So not enough time.
Could have had him live the dream with the hair. I don't know.
Oh, we could. That would have been great.
One time.
That's
She
one
was pretty
time.
hairy.
But great shot and congratulations. You guys absolutely killed it. So I think now we're going to talk about deck lists a little bit. Justin, if that's cool with you, right?
Yeah, I can kind of lead here. So starting with John, you kind of played the elephant in the room. I think we all knew this was going to be something that almost every team was playing. Can you talk a little bit about the process of getting ready for the event? Like you kind of knew you were playing Jango early. I think you and Alex kind of probably had sort of the easiest jobs in terms of picking a deck because Alex is a Han master, and you've had a ton of experience on Jango, and those two decks kind of rose to the top. But can you talk about your process of like, was this list different at all because of the structure of the tournament? Did you just play like the best version of Jango that you could? Like, did you think about like, all right, based on like the seating, the roll, like, does anything get a shift there? Kind of just walk us through the process and like also maybe even talk a little bit about our team prep too of like the indirect damage that kind of got added pretty late. Like I think that week we really started testing it and we're like, hey, this is kind of Guerrilla Soldier, like kind of good.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like the week of the event, the list changed a bit. Like you said, like 2 weeks before the event, Alex and I were pretty locked in. Like he was on Han, I was on Jango. Woo was still kind of going back and forth between like three or four different decks. But like the week of the event, we weren't playing like the Guerrilla Soldiers. I think the Zygerian Starhopper was like a cartel spacer. There was no Radiant Sevens. And then I forget who brought it up. Maybe it was even you, Justin. I don't even remember exactly, but someone had brought up in our team chat that like, hey, maybe we should try like Guerrilla Soldiers and like all of the indirect stuff. And it's like, well, that's actually a pretty good idea. So, I think for maybe a few days we played, I don't know, 10, 20 games and, realized that the indirect stuff was working really, really well against the mirror, as well as like Quinlan. So that's kind of the direction that we went. Like, I think we ended up cutting like the Boba unit.
Yep.
Yeah, the blasters, maybe a few other cards to fit in, all that indirect stuff. And it just crushed in the mirror. Like every mirror I played was just complete blowouts. Like if you just lead 2-drop into like Guerrilla Soldiers, you just get ahead really quickly in the damage race, and like they can't really keep up because once you get to turn 5+, you have the same cards. So if you're ahead in the damage race, like, and you're playing the same cards as your opponent, like, they can't ever really like catch up to you.
And that was one of the things that like when you and I was streaming when you were kind of co-piloting in the chat. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday, and we were I was looking specifically for mirrors in our Discord, and it was like the beginning portion of the game where you're basically like trying to navigate until the flip turn, and then it's like the game shifts to the second part where you're just like everyone's casting 6-cost cards or 8-cost cards, it's like slamming these haymakers, tapping everything, and it's sort of like get ahead and then ride that out. But it sounds like you found something that really facilitated the early portion.
Yeah, and
I
then,
think Mike actually might have been the guy who suggested Guerrilla Soldiers, and then I think like you and I, John, like we just started playing a bunch, and like we both like converged back to one of the threads where like this is kind of broke. Like we're posting like screen caps of like this is really good. Like I did 7 damage on the first turn if you lead Pride Guerrilla Soldier,
Pride Guerrilla,
and it's like that's just so like oppressive. So
Yeah, I think that came a lot of out of a lot of mine and Woo's testing on the Boba deck. We were kind of seeing how insane Guerrilla Soldier was there, and just figured if we're running Pride and we're just pushing early damage, the Soldier was working really hard.
Well, the Radiant Sevens is really what kind of pushed it over for me. Like I decided, like hey guys, I want to try this card because I've always liked the card ever since it was spoiled, but like I just didn't really try it. And then when I started trying it, I'm like, with all of the indirect stuff, like I was saying, you get ahead in damage. If you TDR like a Radiant 7 or even just play it on 7 resources, most of the time your opponent's at like 17, 18, 19, and like they can't put it on their base or they just die. So they have to put it on their units or their leader if they have one. Then it gets tapped and then all their units shrink, and it's just like that's how you beat Quinlan usually.
We'll say about Quinlan, like the Guerrilla Soldier. So Jango actually, I think, usually should be passing on turn 1 into Quinlan because Jango actually has a better late game than Quinlan, so he doesn't need to opt into getting exhausted. But if they pass and the Quinlan decides, okay, let's just go next turn, now you can slam a Guerrilla Soldier onto an empty board, and that's 5. That's just a guaranteed 5 to base, and that can actually really hurt the Quinlan. Now, I play a lot of Quinlan. I would usually just recommend don't skip turn 1, but there are situations where you might want to, depending on your hand, especially if you have like a Cassian, where you can just like play an X5 and not get ping Tarkin towned. But if you pass and they have the Soldier, that's a hole that you're like so far behind in the damage race at that point.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, great job with that, and obviously great list.
Awesome list.
Look, we'll talk a little bit more about it when we talk about Denver. So next we got Cad's. So Woo's Cad Tarkentown, sorry. And this is something that we were testing. Something you've had your eye on since last set, really. And then with some of the help that we felt Cad got, you had picked it back up, and late in the game, really found a strategy you thought worked against Jango.
Yeah, so been working on this a lot during this set. I liked this deck enough last set, but I at a certain point I did give up on it. I thought this deck was really bad against Jango. Like Lurking TIE Phantom was impossible to deal with. I thought this deck was unfortunately just very poorly positioned. It was really struggling, but two things happened, right? Lurking TIE Phantom, first of all, is not even in Jango decks anymore. Mm-hmm. And also they gave you a card called Sidana Thano, which one-shots Lurking TIE Phantoms. So like in conjunction, I thought that was very effective. You also just got IG 2000, which, it's incredibly broken in Jango, but it's actually like almost equally broken in CAD when it pings twice. Also, like Contracted Jumpmaster, right? Like this deck really struggled in space, and that card is a very good Underworld Sentinel. Like I look at that card and I'm like, why didn't Villain Blue or Villain Green get this card? Like, why is it yellow? I do not understand why they have the best Space Sentinel in the game right now. But I wish my Vaders and Kira could pull this guy out. Alas. But yeah, like, and the Boba pilot too, right? Like he shoots for 3 when you pilot him, right? This deck got a lot of help, a lot of help. And Relentless Pursuit was probably like the thing that really pushed it currently. Like it was not that effective last meta, but like if you look at the Jango decks right now, it's all about the Juggernaut and the Raiders. It's just like the whole deck revolves around them doing that. And Cad Bane swallows that stuff up, and then it curves perfectly into you then playing your 7-drop to Cad to like capture their next big unit.
Right.
I'm not calling this a Jango killer. I do not think this is like some magic bullet against Jango, but I think it has game into Jango. And basically that was what why I landed on playing this deck. I mean, of course, I couldn't play Jango. There was only one per team. I was looking at like Quinlan as well. I think Quinlan has a very similar like spread into Jango, but I think Cad is just much better into Quinlan. And I wanted, like, that was kind of the tiebreaker because I expected a lot of teams would be having Quinlan. I didn't think a lot of teams would have Cad. And I did get to play 2 Quinlans. I did beat them both. One was in the semifinals. And actually, the quarter and the semifinals, I believe, were Quinlans against one of the BN teams and then against this Team Secret. So, yeah, like, I think this deck is really good. I don't think it's on Jango tier good. Like, I think if something happens with Jango, like, I would definitely be looking at this deck more closely for a large event. But I planned on just being like John was saying, like, Jango was gonna sit first. We sat Jango first every time, or I think every time except once we sat John first, and I expected that was what other teams would do, sit Jango first, and I was the one that was getting paired into the Jangos. I played 5 of them, and John played 5 of them, right? I think.
I played 4. Yeah,
4. So Alex got 1. Yeah. Okay, so I played 5 of them, and I did have a winning record against them, including winning in the finals against the Jango.
It's crazy. You guys played 10 rounds.
10 rounds.
Yeah, we went 9-1 against Jango, like for our team. Like that's
awesome.
I lost one nail biter. 30 out of 32.
2 teams didn't have a Jango. Well, I thought, first of all, I love this deck, but I thought you had the hardest job. Like, I think, Tatta had the great Jango list, kind of knew he was going into Jango. Alex on the Han, like, worked on that, and, like, kind of know the deck. You had more of, like, the stress of, like, having to pick which deck to play. Like, I think Quinlan, you talked about Kira, which you played in the 6K.
Well, the magic is I'm always stressed, so...
It always works. They're like... Bruce Banner in the Hulk. I'm always angry, but actually that's kind of a good affect.
That works.
But yeah, I mean, I think this deck's great. I love that the number of set 4 cards in this deck that like aren't Devastator or Tank. Like you've got like some cool cards from set 4 that like are less like superpower.
Mist Hunter.
Or, like, just win the game on this spot. You got Mist Hunter. You've got the Boba units in a lot of decks, but like just seeing it in this one somehow just appears to be a little different. I don't know.
Also,
Thano was great. Like. People would
just play
a passing turn once sometimes with Jango and then playing either 7th Fleet or P-38. You just one-shot it. You don't even use your Tarkin Town. You go to turn 4 with 0 damage on your base, or turn 3.
And a Tarkin Town.
And a Tarkin Town still up, in which case, empty board, you have IG. You can now represent 5 damage with that IG in your Tarkin Town, right?
You got the Bash Brothers.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We have to shout out Zuckuss. You must have the Zuckuss there from the finals.
I do, yeah.
And
Tyler is a fantastic sport and a great player. He did sign my Zuckuss for me. It did win the game 3 in the finals. Pulling a Zuckuss off and one-shotting a Jango was absolutely magical.
And what a finals! I mean, we can talk a little bit of that when we get to Alex's deck next, because he was the final game.
But that was really exciting. That was like the final. That was like the Joe Rogan, like the announcers go crazy moment when he didn't Tyler didn't kill. He had the Sneak Raider to kill Forlom and he didn't take it. And he deployed Jango and he just got zucked, and it was just like the moment. Like we all went, so we were having a watch party in the Discord, so like there were 75 people ish watching me stream it live and sort of like talk to the chat. And we just went absolutely nuts when it happened.
The chat went so like it's on the margin.
Yeah, it was great. It was so sick. So, and shout out to Tyler for signing that for you. That's really funny. All right, Alex, you've been eerily quiet. Now's your time,
First of all, Alex, thank you for the incredible image quality of this deck we've got here.
Alex downloaded this from his iPhone 4.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. But,
well, your list is hot. The Ahsokas are a hot ad.
It's the only set 4 card in this deck, right?
And you're playing some cards you haven't played before. You got some jetpacks there.
Look the other way.
All that in the list. And
look the other way, son.
You got the Commandeers on the board. Talk to us about Han in less than 180 seconds.
No, you cook. You cook.
I don't even know where to begin. So like, honestly, all the changes I made were just like, I don't know how, but like Django's so hot and cold for me. I have one night and I smoke every Django I play. I have the next night I can't win a game. So like Phil told me he was smoking Django, so I played against him with I was Django, he was Han Yellow. He smoked me like 5 games out of 6. So I just switched around some stuff that he liked. He really liked Ahsoka and Sparks, so I put those back in. Jetpack was my own thing. I was just like, you know what, I'll try Jetpack because like I never was a fan of Jetpack. I actually never played it before, but I never liked it before. I never liked what I saw out of it. I never liked anytime I thought about the card, I never liked it. I never played it, never felt I needed it. But I was like, you know what? Shields are pretty good right now. So I put the Jetpack in like 2 nights before, and I was sweeping the Kara folk with it, which doesn't say very much, but I was like, fuck it, whatever. I'll try it. And so I ended up playing it for this event. It was great. I would give it like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Actually, funny enough, Phil just actually messaged me about testing, but yeah, I'd give it like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. It was a good card. I'd probably keep it in there. The only thing I'd change about this list, honestly, is I'd probably cut Bamboozles. There just aren't enough decks right now that Bamboozle is good enough. It's great in the mirror, but kind of like Phil said, I feel like I'm so good at the mirror that I actually can just skill gap my opponents most of the time. So I don't think I need this. I'd just rather side it in. It was in there for like decks like Kazuda, decks like Boba. It doesn't do very much versus Django except the occasional tap. Same with Quinlan, same with Cad. It doesn't do anything versus
It's good against
decks.
Sabine.
Yeah, but like a lot of them aren't even playing Darksaber, I think, anymore. And I already feel so favored versus Sabine. I don't expect to see a lot of them. That it just like that's probably the only thing I'd pull out. I mean, if you ask me how my Django matchup is, I honestly couldn't tell you. Like I said, one day I'm unstoppable. The next day I can't win a game. So I played 3 Djangos in the tournament total. One in the 3v3, and that was Ryan Conroe. And I 2-0'd, but game 1 he drew terrible. Game 2 he had a better hand, but my hand just lined up super, super well into his. And then I played 2 in the tournament. One was a 30, and I think you just roll over 30. And it was a good player, too. It was Michael, I can't think of his last name, unfortunately,
Carlock.
but he's one of the
Carlock.
Carlock,
Yeah.
Thank you. Michael Carlock, and he's a great player, but he drew poorly for one. Like, I won't even sugarcoat it. He just drew terrible. But I also think that 30 is not, even though it might be a little better in the mirror, it is just so much worse versus this deck.
I agree.
So then I beat I wouldn't say newer player, but I think a player just didn't know the matchup as well. So I actually didn't lose a game to Django all weekend, but I don't feel super confident about it going into this weekend. The nice thing about this in the 3v3 though is Han is a deck that has very polarizing matchups where it's a very easy counter pick where when we win the die roll we sit Django first, and there's always a deck somewhere in their 3 that's going to just have an atrocious matchup into Han. And even the mirrors, I'm very comfortable in the mirrors. So anytime we saw a mirror, we didn't see like a good matchup, or maybe they stuck their bad matchup against the Django, we just say, all right, Alex into the Han, like go play the mirror. And I was very comfortable doing that too.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, like, just to interject here. Like, we played against Eekfoil's team twice, and like the first time we played them, they put Eekfoil into Alex for the Han mirror, and then the second time that we played him, they're like, nah. So
Opt out.
So he played against me. Like he actively chose to play against Django instead of Alex, and it's just like. It's just crazy to see that sub game. Like, it's like, nah, I don't want to play this guy.
Yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
I would rather play this bad matchup, and it was funny.
The legend of Alex on Han is growing. I mean, just like you won a PQ, you topped how many other PQs with Han?
He won a couple PQs.
You won 2
PQs.
PQs.
3 PQs.
You won 3 PQs. 3 PQs.
3 PQs.
You won 3 PQs and topped how many others?
I topped a total of 8, I think. So 3 wins and then 5. Yes, 5 tops.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely bananas. You won.
Yeah, but he went 10-0 in the 3v3
and 10-0 in the team tournament. So like we're talking about the legend
because, like
is
you
just
said,
like
yeah, we
absolutely
gave
bananas.
him some good matchups, but yeah, I mean it's still crazy to go 10-0.
Yeah, wild.
If
you're gonna learn
Ophir was the one, yeah, you gonna learn today. If Ophir was the one we just tossed into the fire every time, I was the one they like kind of fed the people to me.
You were the fire.
sense.
You were the Rancor.
Yes.
They dropped the people through the pit.
Yeah,
They were just Gamorreans running.
It's funny too because in that final versus Cad Green, it's game 3, and
oh yeah, we should talk about this.
Yeah.
Can we set it up a little? All right. So if you weren't watching the finals, then you should go watch it. And obviously, like that these guys won, but early on in the match, they'd cut away from Alex's game 3 to what was it? Was it Tatta? It was Tatta's game, and they were like, "Oh, Alex is like." Alex said he's cooked, so he's gonna like play and distract Zach. So you just super focus on the Tatta game, and like all through the match.
Other people who were there were talking about how it was like, oh yeah, like
Symbiote was recording,
and then other people were like, no,
he's done. It's over.
Like walkers and all this stuff.
This is a true story. I turned game 3. My hand sucks. His hand's like good. I turn to Ophir and I go lock in with Tatta. He cast resupply and I go lock in with Tatta. It's over for me. Like there's no chance I'm winning this. And like every couple turns, Ophir would turn back to me and go, "How's it looking?" And I'm like, "I'm dead. Just stay on Tatta. Like don't worry about me. I'll do my thing." But
so
like,
35 minutes of us hearing like, "Oh, Alex is done. Like it's over." Like Tatta loses, and everyone's like, "No, I can't believe
game
this
was
is
like close.
Oh yeah,
too. Like we're
close.
focused on that. We're basically viewing it as Alex is lost.
This happened after I won in the mid. Like,
yeah, you had already won.
Ended very quickly. Like my set, even when we played 3 games, was over very fast.
So it's like starting to slip away for Tatta. There's like an Emphas nest. Like Jango's dead. Like there's just some stuff that's occurred, but it's like a really good match. Like John's doing like a great job, like hanging in there. And it's like, can I pull off like a dev? Like there isn't, you know what I mean? Like we're just there.
Yeah.
And then it's like loss. Like Emphas nest hits. And
it felt like we were down 28-3, and then they cut to Alex's game. He's got like 7 units on the board. They all have a ton of damage. Zach slams a Cad and like eats them all up. And Alex, you go ahead, give us the 2 cards you played.
That turn I actually don't remember. Wait! I have a great game memory. So
okay,
that was the turn you played Cunning and killed him.
Jetpack, Cunning, dead.
Yeah, the last turn. Okay, sure. Of the 3rd game. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, too, the turning point, I think, was, like, when they cut away, and I haven't got to watch it, but when they cut away was the turn he had, like, a Walker, I think he had, like, a Bazine, and he had something else on the board. Yeah, he had, like, 3 creatures on board, and I had nothing. And it was just, like, the turning point when I like Ophir turned to me and goes, "How's it looking?" And I go, "I think I'm turning the corner." Was I get a blaster on Emphas Nest and send the Walker back to hand, and my 1 card in hand, I have 1 card in hand, and it's Spark of Rebellion, and he like he's talking to Tyler, and he's like, "Man, if I do this first, I know he's just gonna discard it." And I was like, and I wasn't. The funny thing was, I wasn't gonna. My first line play was not going to be Spark. I was going to do something else first. But I was like, man, his hand must be total chaff if he's so shook of me sparking him. So I just slammed the Spark, and you can see him like shake his head like, yeah, of course, it's the 1 card in his hand is the Spark.
So nuts.
Yeah, it was, I mean.
You DJ'd him twice that game when he had like 7 resources open. He just twice did not have the out for the DJ, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So what happened was I actually DJ'd him 3 times, and this is the sequence of events. Like this is something that happened. It's happened to probably every lifelong card player at some point in their career, where you're so behind that every turn you just go, "All right, I'm dead to this. Make him have it." And this happened almost every turn for me. But there were 3 very key moments. One of them was I think the second DJ where I just said, all right, if he pretty much has an ambusher for this DJ, I will pick up my cards. And he didn't. And then it happened again with the 3rd one where it's like, all right, if he has an ambusher for this, I will pick up my cards. He doesn't. And then like the Emphas Nest goes down. I'm like, all right, if he is the Maul, I will pick up my cards. He doesn't. And then the final moment where it's like, okay, now I'm winning the game is I ask him. So I go, he's got a Syndicate Lackey with 2 damage on board. 1's gone, I know for sure. And so I ask him, I say, how many Syndicate Lackeys in the discard? And he goes, 2. And then he stops and picks up his discard and goes, actually 1. And I'm like, okay, this is either the sickest mind game of all time, or he definitely doesn't have another Syndicate lackey in his hand. And I sit there and I think about it, and I'm just like, you know what? He snapped it off so quickly. I don't think it could possibly be a mind game. Run the tech out. Let's see what happens. And actually, he did not have the third Syndicate lackey in his hand. And that was the point where I was like, okay, now we're really cooking. Like, the Enfys was the turning point, but this was like all right, we're going to seal this now. And he just he just drew air for the next, when I say this game was 15 turns, I believe it was, I'm going to count them, but I believe it was 15 or 16 turns long,
Wow.
which for a Cad Han match is like unheard of. Like that should never
Right.
happen.
Well,
That's
it
like
was-
for basically any match is unheard of.
Yeah,
Like
for sure. Even Yoda finalizers like not getting a 15.
Yoda final.
So
endless legion.
oh, sorry. Yeah,
Endless
Yoda,
Legion,
Endless
Yoda,
Legion.
Endless
My bad. How could I forget somehow? Yeah, but it was insane. So sick run. All right. So the big question now is, what's next? All 5 of us are going to be partying in Denver on Friday. Let's go.
Yep.
Wait,
Can't
did
wait.
Steve tell you guys about dinner yet?
He mentioned we were going. I don't know
Oh,
where.
he didn't.
but-
He fired up. Well, I'll tell now. Everyone's gonna know, but he fired off an email. He's like, we were in a voice call earlier today. He's like, could you check your email? And it was like for the private dining room at the steakhouse that he loves. So Steve, I was like, book it, baby. So because it has a minimum, and it's not a cheap minimum, but we're gonna have a great time. With,
Let's go.
Team
Enjoy.
dinner.
Let's celebrate the victory.
Celebrate the
of the
victory.
team.
7
This is
out of
like
the 8 of us are gonna be there.
The dream of the tournament testing team is to have these things where, in Denver we have 7 out of the 8. Unfortunately, Maddie can't make it, but like there's gonna be times where like there's a group that goes to something, and like that's the whole point, right? Like we want everyone to.
We want to
succeed.
celebrate how
we felt
great
like we
it's
were
going.
there. There was Mike and I certainly had FOMO of like the excitement of like not being able to see it in person, but there was no like we were so pumped, like we were just so hyped to see, and Maddie and Steve were super hyped too to see like the win and excited
Yeah.
for the next weekend.
I
I have
just
a question
Love
about
this team. I'm
not
just,
about
like
steak,
so hyped.
but about like what are you taking out of the team event? I know you guys played in the 6K too, but like what are you taking out of the team event as transferable to Denver, which is not a team event, it's like sector. It's like, Alex, are you looking at, you mentioned like the structure and how you were like essentially not going to play a lot of Jango, the way that like the matchups were paired and as the seeding was determined. Denver, you imagine you are going to play a lot of Jango. Like, is Han at the top of your list? Like, how are you preparing? I think it really goes for everyone, but I'm going to start with Alex just because that to me is like a pretty fascinating question. You went at 10-0 with Han, but then you're saying like, hey, Jango, sometimes I lose, sometimes I win. So what does that mean?
Django's just like the ceiling. Django is similar to what my analogy was for it last set, except last set was the floor is very low, but the ceiling is like the highest of any deck that exists. The problem is now the floor is on par with most of the existing decks, but the ceiling is so much higher than it was last set now. And just like when they have the ceiling games, you cannot beat them. It doesn't matter who they are. Even like the newest player on just 6 resources plays TDR, finds a Devastator. It's so miserable to play against. It's just like a miserable deck. And I don't want to get too much into ban list discussions, but like it's hard for me to want to take any deck that isn't Jango when even the decks that are meant to counter Jango are still losing like 30, maybe even 40% of the time to Jango because of how egregious the high rolls are. So I don't know where I stand with Han right now. I'm going to grind a lot of Han this week. I will say this is one of the least prepared I've been for an event in a long time and the least comfortable I've felt. But there is a very good chance I just play Jango because it's such a disgusting deck.
John?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to take away from the team event because of the way that the format was. Like my deck was probably teched more for the mirror because I figured I'd be playing a lot of them, which I guess actually might work out because it'd probably be a lot of Jango. There are like a few things that I would change. Like the Boba Pilot didn't really do much for me. There's a handful of cards that like don't do much. We were floating around some ideas yesterday and today of things to try. But I can't foresee myself not playing Django. I've played it so much. I know it probably better than almost anyone. It's like it would be really silly of me to just not play Django. So we just have to figure out, and we'll do that here in the next few days.
Next few minutes.
like the final details.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see.
And Whoop.
So I play on hard mode most of the time. I think that's something I need to work on a little bit, but I will probably not be playing Django. I have reps with it. I think I could do pretty well with it. I think I mostly just don't really feel like playing it. And I do not like playing mirrors in like half of my rounds. So objectively, I think I should be playing it, honestly. Like, I think it's the best deck. But I'm going to play a deck that I feel comfortable enough beating it, that I think also just has, like, good matchups across the board. There's a few, like, I think Quinlan is very high on my list right now. And it was actually, I think, the second most represented deck at the previous tournament. But if I focus with a lot of tech in there against Django, I can get it to a decent point and just try to like outskill, and then I do feel quite good into Hans with that deck. I think I can win mirrors. I can beat like Pietz or like any decks trying to play control with that deck. So, very similar to like how I felt like Kira was like the 50-50 deck, like where I just tried to like, skill gap and just like not be out of any games. I kind of feel like Quinlan falls in that spot. I think I would still look at Cad a little bit. I think it's also quite solid. And yeah, like, Kira, I'll never not check in just to see.
On your girl.
But
late night.
That one right now is not, like, without ECL, I feel like every matchup basically gets a little worse, except for Django, where like I feel like I cannot win that with ECL at all right now. So if you're gonna play it, I have to play with 30. If I'm playing with 30, every other matchup got a little bit worse, especially Sabine. Like, I feel so behind against Sabine without ECL. So probably not at the top of the list right now, although I did play it at the 6K and was this close to top 8ing it with it. Lost a couple nail biters to a Jango and then a Sabine. So
yeah.
Woo checking in on Kira is like the holiday text to your ex.
Yep,
to your
I was thinking the same thing. Like, lonely holiday. You're stuck at your parents. You're like, I don't have anyone to talk to. I used to have my girlfriend here with me. What's she doing? You know what? I'm gonna say Merry Christmas to her. Totally innocent. Yeah.
It's like 8:00 at night on not Christmas Eve, but like Christmas Day night, and it's like, hey, what's going on? How's your mom doing? How's everything? Remember that time we
won an event?
Remember that time we won?
That's amazing.
All right, boys. Well, I'm so excited for Denver. Thanks for coming on and talking to us about your experiences in your deck. Thanks for being amazing teammates, and thanks for taking home the victory for the KTOD. Repping the jackets. Look for the jackets this weekend in Denver. All right. Later, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Later.